We had nothing but Group D action with Japan facing off against Indonesia and Iraq facing off against Vietnam. Let's start off with Japan versus Indonesia, where Japan saw themselves win 3-1 in a game that started off very quick with a penalty within the first few minutes.
Holding. Number 4 on the defense, 12-yard penalty for Japan, and they put it away, bro. 1-0, Japan goes up. That same gift that Vietnam gave Indonesia in that match, Indonesia just rewrapped it and then gifted it to Japan because Jordi Amat got hella tight for no reason. I mean, I understand he was in the box and he was, in a dangerous position. But, dude, like, in the first 60 seconds of the match, essentially, on the first deadly play, I think it was just a rush of blood to the head. Amat gets super tight. It's a penalty all day long.
Dude, these players, these Asian players, not just Indonesia, but across the tournament, I'm seeing a lot of these guys get too tight on the player they're marking in the box. These dudes think they're at a fucking club, dude, with how tight and touchy they're getting.
I know.
Let him go, man. Let him breathe, and you won't get a penalty call on you. I was frustrated because we talked yesterday about my worries, my concerns for Indonesia in this match specifically. To start off like that, it's just such a blatant mistake that you couldn't really argue against, man. It was a clear penalty, and Ueda finished it off by scoring it to make it 1-0 early on in this game.
Yeah, early on, and I mean, to be completely honest, for the rest of the match, this was pretty straightforward for Japan. They dominated possession. They attacked Indonesia in every opportunity that they had. And eventually, they got that second and third goal with Indonesia crafting almost nothing. I mean, I can just think of one chance where they really stretched the Japanese defense. But other than that, this game was just set and done, honestly, once that penalty was scored. Yes, Indonesia did settle down after that. And for a long stretch of the game, it was 1-0. Yeah. But, I mean, that's kind of my conclusion here. I still don't think Japan has arrived in. Honestly, I don't know if they are. I don't know if they're fully going to now. I mean, they've had 3 games. They got bodied against Iraq. They had a weird match against Vietnam. And they had a, decent game against Indonesia. But in my opinion, considering their performance over the last 24 months, these 3 games at the AFC Asian Cup, I'm just not recognizing this Japanese team.
It's been a buzzkill, man. It completely killed my buzz in this high I had on Japan. I mean, my perspective regarding them now is that the tournament starts now. That's all I can think of with the Japanese team. This is the time now to show up on this stage in the round of 16 and the knockout stages. The pressure is here now. It has fully arrived, and I really don't have much analysis to give this Japanese team. We've seen what we've seen in these past 3 games. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing what Japanese team shows up in the round of 16 and going from there. So far, not giving us much to be excited about, but I still am going to stick to my guns here and say that they're going to win this tournament regardless of how they perform the group stage. I'm going to stick by my prediction. But they just haven't given us the best display so far.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced with these last 3 performances. And I'm really disappointed because Japan has this huge narrative of being the best team in Asia going into this tournament. And they haven't proved it to me. They really haven't. If you take someone who's their first time watching Asian football and we tell them that Japan's the best team here, they'd be like, no, Iraq's the better team. Low-key, maybe even Jordan's better. And, I would actually agree based off of the performances that have happened. You look at this game against Indonesia and I thought it was kind of sloppy still from Japan. Now, the second half was much better. Honestly, that second half was the best half Japan has played at this tournament. But, I mean, for 50, 60 minutes, Japan was still pretty sloppy when they would go for it. Kubo could not make a tight pass to save his life. Minamino's on the bench, comes on, and he just hasn't done much this tournament. I said in the last game, Junya Ito had the worst game I've ever seen him play. He played 5 minutes in this match coming off the bench. Rito Doan gets the start today, and I mean, low-key, he was wasteful. He had 3 solid opportunities, couldn't put them away. And he's so much more direct when he's on it. Ueda or Daisen Maeda are so much more aggressive when they're on it. Their runs are usually so much more meaningful. But in these last 3 performances, they're just kind of running around like a headless chicken. There's no real purpose in the front 3 of Japan right now. And dude, I'm telling you, it's so unrecognizable. And I'm very, very disappointed. It's not looking good for Japan considering how good they have been over the last 2 years. I'm very disappointed, but in a way, I do agree. Redemption's always on the horizon for any football club, more so if the talent is there. And it is for Japan. they're through the knockout stage. It's not like they have failed yet. So there is hope, but my God, man, like seriously, I'm just pretty disappointed.
Oh yeah, it was. I'm not saying it was a positive showing. I agree with you completely. I just think in a tournament like this, if it was the World Cup and they put on the same performance, I'd be so out on this Japanese team completely.
Yeah.
It's the Asian Cup. The level's a little lower here. I think and it sucks that this is what I'm saying about the Japanese team, but I do think they just end up having the better quality on the pitch to carry them through these matches and end up getting results. And I think we might start seeing that once the bright lights are on. Even if they're not playing the best, most fluid Japanese football we've seen from them, I still think it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be enough to carry them deep into this tournament. So that's why I still remain not fully concerned, but just not excited is how I'll represent my Japanese take. Not excited.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point because I think Japan definitely will always back themselves as, all right, we have the better players. And the longer this tournament goes on, you really start to see the true colors of some of these underdog teams. Can they really meet up to that pressure that these knockout stage games possess? But on that inverse, Japan's opponents could see that Japan's a little off and maybe pull in a rock and just attack them.
True.
There's definitely vulnerability within this Japanese squad to be exposed. I think it'll just be up to the opponent to basically press them and attack hard when you play Japan. Only thing positive I'll say about this game against Indonesia that I saw that they did versus their other games is they were much better with their midfield press. They got the ball almost immediately back when they would lose it within the midfield. They met the Indonesian players up high on the pitch to get it back, and Indonesia simply could not handle that pressure. I hadn't seen Japan press the ball like that in the first two matches, so that's actually a really good sign. And if they can just couple that with their fluid football that they've played in the past up top, then I think we might see a better Japan. So there's definitely still hope. But yeah, overall, very disappointing group stage.
As for Indonesia, I love that they managed to get a goal off of Arhan's throw-in, man. Yeah. That ultimately was so rewarding because we saw it throughout this entire tournament. Every time Arhan threw that ball in from the fucking sideline, he would launch it in like it's a corner kick, and it would provide to be dangerous, man, a dangerous opportunity nearly every single time. And finally, we saw it finished off with Sandy Walsh scoring an actual goal here to make it 3-1. That was a beautiful moment, I thought, for Indonesia to get a goal in that specific way.
Yeah, and honestly, other than the penalty, I thought Indonesia played as good as they could have. They had a very solid game, and I think this was just kind of an experience, holding the ball, trying to relieve pressure. They just couldn't do it. But overall, I thought they were able to meet Japan as good as they could. So yeah, I mean, props to Indonesia. And there is still a chance that they can get into the knockout stage. They'll just need a little bit of help from the other groups.
And once again, I just felt that Suzuki could have done a little bit more on that shot, man. He touched it. He let it go under him. I understand it came at him quick and it came at him low. It's a little bit more justifiable than the other mistakes we saw him make in this tournament. But still, man, I thought that was a save that a good keeper could have made, and we saw Suzuki miss it once again, who ended up getting the start in this game and getting the coach's trust.
I know that. Watching Suzuki for the rest of this tournament, and honestly, even in World Cup qualifiers after this tournament, that's going to be an insane narrative for Japan, because if he doesn't really follow through as the Japanese number one, then who's it going to be? And low-key, why isn't Moriyasu trying to kind of mess with the number two right now, knowing that Suzuki's made some weird mistakes in these past matches? I guess there's full trust in him. And maybe low-key Moriyasu is just using this whole tournament for Suzuki to see how he really performs, and it's only going to get more intense in the knockout stage for him. So I think that's where we're really going to see if Suzuki can handle that pressure. Yeah.
Match rating, I'm going 6.2 on this one, man. Early goal, and once that went in, it was pretty much dominant from Japan, and 6.2 for me.
Yeah, 6.5 for me. I mean, Japan had some nice goals when they were on it. 3 goals. Yeah. 4th one with Indonesia. Like a 6.5.